Hi all, I'm Hia the Bard. My pronouns are they, them. Welcome to my channel. Today is a very lazy video that I am doing. I am going to be reading to you the first lines of all of my stories. Yes, all of them. Take that with a grain of salt. I say all of them, but it's going to be all my published stuff. And it's going to be the stuff that is currently available for people to read, except for if you stay to the end, there might be a little bit extra. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, so I'm just going to read off this list. We're going to start with the first one. We're going to do a little bit of analysis of it, and then we'll get into it. And here's some of my books. This is not all the ones I'll be reading from today. These are only the ones that I have physical copies of still. So we have Raid of the Mage Queen. No idea where my Lost Mage Princess books went. Like, I think I might have sold out on all of them. And so I might not have any physical copies anymore. Then there's Oak and Honey. I love this cover, by the way. I think it's beautiful. It got printed in the wrong size. I have not restocked on any of these. In fact, I took my books off the site I was using to print these on. I should probably put them on a different site or back onto that site so that I could get printed copies. It's a whole thing. And then we have Manic Pixie Fat Dream, which I have like 2 copies left of. And I'm so surprised by that because I ordered like 25 copies and I still am almost sold out of them. So there's that. Yeah, let's get into this first one. I'm a little bit anxious. It's fine. So the first book is The Lost Mage Princess by Isabella Doucette. It's one of my pen names. And this is the first line. The night was cool and clear, no clouds in the sky. The sun set over the forest, casting rays of golden light across a canopy of leaves. Okay. I really like this line, I'm gonna be honest. I think it's descriptive. I think it tells you of a very specific setting that they're in, or that this character is in. I think it gives like an ambiance. Yeah, I think this is a good line. I will say not all of these are great first lines. Yeah, I'm maybe not a fan of some of the first lines that I chose for books back in the day that maybe got reworked at some point, but that I'm just like, it is what it is on some of them, you know? But that first one, The Lost Mage Princess, like every time I read it, I am transported into that book. And it's my own book. It's my own words. So I love that. So this is the sequel that I'll read next. It is Rite of the Mage Queen by Isabella Doucette. And Rite of the Mage Queen is the sequel in the Mage Chronicles. There was never a third book published. I have most of it written. I hate it. I would have to rewrite it again. And I actually don't think that it needs a third book to feel complete. So the first line of Raid of the Mage Queen by Isabella Doucette is, far away in the hillsides of the mainland, the shade found their way into the homes of sleeping people. So this line's really good for a sequel, I'll say. It's not as like descriptive as the first book, but it does still like transport me into that book. The shade are like the evil bad guys. They aren't actually people, so it's hard to say like bad guys when they aren't even people. But they want to be people so badly that they will destroy everything around them to be people. And if that sounds fascinating to you, you can just pick up those books. They're on Kobo. They're in my link in the description down below. All of these books will be in the description down below, in fact. So let's go on to the next book. So after my sequel, this is a book that is my latest release right now. And it is something I don't actually talk about a ton. Like, I published it and I have not been promoting it a ton. I have not been like talking about it a ton because it's so personal to me. It is about my grief journey with my mom passing away, and she passed away in April of this year. So the fact that I just like decided to put out the poetry that I wrote around the time that she was very sick it was a leap for me, and it's something I don't talk about a ton. And I get sad whenever I think about her or think about this. So the first line, or I guess the title is Poetry at the End, and that's by Isabella Doucette. I chose that specific pen name because it was very meaningful to my mother. She loved the name. There are things I could say about that I don't really want to share with the general public, but if you know, you know. Yeah, and the first line in that is, at the end, there's so much left to say. And there's truth in those words. That is all I will say about that, is that there's always so much that was left to say. And if you've lost someone, then maybe you understand. So let's transition now into my Hero Song books. These are books that are by my pen name Hero Song. I have 4 pseudonyms. Hero Song, Isabella Doucette, Elliot Finley, which nothing is currently published under, so I'm not reading those today, and Bram Stoker, which is my like erotica that I thought I was going to read and write way more of and never ended up doing. But yes, this is, and I will soon have a 5th one, which is Hero Doucette, my actual name, and that will be published soon, I think. Let's get into the Hero Song stuff. So the first one is from Oak and Honey by Hero Song. So here's the first line. Honey hair danced across her face as she closed her eyes, swaying and throwing her hands in the air. This is a moment. This is like, they're in a club, they're dancing, they're having fun. It is not my best line. I think it probably could have been reworked again and again and again and 1,000 times again. And at a certain point, as a writer, you just have to throw up your hands and give up and say it's good enough. And it was good enough at the time. Oak and Honey was actually the very first book I ever published under the name Mara and Cat. So there's that. Yeah. The next one is called The Cafe at the End of the Lane by Hero Song. It was originally called The Tea and LGBT by Hero Song, and then Jamie Rains, another YouTuber here, very popular trans activist writer, he wrote a book that he titled The Tea and LGBT, and is like his memoir, I think. So I changed the title of mine because I was like, that's not gonna be good. Okay, so this book begins. The Cafe at the End of the Lane by Hero Song is, the thing that no one tells you about working on yourself is the amount of shame and guilt you have for the past that keeps clawing its way at you every day. Truth. So much truth. Just just so much truth in those words. I love that book. I will say I've rewritten it multiple times. It was first published, as I said before, as the T and LGBT, and I didn't love it that way. This book was actually published in a study on linguistics as well. I don't remember what that study is called, but yeah, it was very... I have a lot of readers over in Spain, actually, and I had a Spanish friend of mine write her dissertation. Was it her? Yeah, it was her dissertation. It was her master's dissertation on this book. And so that's a thing I don't talk about a lot either, that I'm like very proud of, honestly. Like, I think that is... I was so scared at the time that that would be like my peak, that I would be like, I'd never be able to live up to that, because that felt like such a success to me, that that someone decided to write their dissertation on translation about my book was like insane to me. And I was like, I can't live up to that. I'm never going to get success ever again. And I will say that I think that that has and has not been true in various different types of ways. But I think that I have... I mean, I kept writing, so that's the thing. Depending, and it depends what you measure your success by. Do you measure your success... This is a whole nother conversation we could have, honestly. Do you measure your success by money and accolades and how many books you've sold and how many people have read your book? Or do you measure success by, like, how intrinsically valuable that thing is to you? I would write no matter what else I was doing in the world. No matter if I was... I don't know, working a 9-to-5 job, or if I was working in publishing, or if I was so severely disabled that I could barely move my body at all, and I was just like a lump of a person, I would find a way to write, because writing is a part of who I am. Anyways, that's how I feel about The Cafe at the End of the Lane. Very summed up. And I could go on and on and on about that. The next book is Scarlet's Wolf by Hero Song. Scarlet's Wolf is a very meaningful story to me. I mean, all of my stories are meaningful to me in various different ways. Scarlet's Wolf, I was in the middle of writing it when my aunt passed away. And it deals a little bit with grief. I don't, like, go super into it or anything, but I do deal with, like, the stress and grief and pain of, like, watching someone you know deteriorate. And years later, my mom passed away in a very similar way to what happened in Scarlet's Wolf, oddly enough, as life mimicked my art, which is not something... Usually it is art mimicking life, but this was something I had written when my aunt passed away. I was in the middle of writing it, and that changed the whole direction that I was writing it in. And then my mom ended up getting very sick, and very much... they mirrored one another, those two things. It was just like a mirror. And that is a scary thing to face, is our mortality. But it is a thing that I write about quite a bit, because I feel grief very deeply in myself. So the first line of Scarlet's Wolf is, I breathe deeply, staring at the tattoo shop across the street. So that's a very simple line. Again, I don't think it's necessarily some of my best work as far as first lines go, but I appreciate it. I think it does some lifting there, some heavy lifting for the story. It lets you know, a time, a place, a setting, a feeling, maybe even perhaps a little bit. I mean, a breath can be a lot of different things, but in this specific story, I talk a lot about, like, breathing through pain. So it was poignant, I think. Then we have City of Ruin by Hiro Doucette. City of Ruin is a story that was supposed to be in, like, a 5-part, 7-part series, something like that I never ended up writing any of the other books in it. And that no one likes. It is my least favorite of, like, all of my books, which says a lot, because, like, some of my poetry is very bad, and this was still one of my books that was, like, the least liked. City of Ruin follows 8 teenagers, young adults, between the ages of, like, 13 and 21. And they are basically surviving in the end of the world, and it follows them on their individual and group journeys, basically. And there were supposed to be more books in the series that was specifically about different things about that, like, apocalyptic ruin world mixed with the fantasy elements that I had. My dog is barking. I'm so sorry about that. City of Ruin was supposed to be so much more than it was. Just so much more. And yes, I will say that, yes, there are other books called City of Ruin that are by other authors. It's actually a very popular title for authors to use, apparently. So the first line is, the news reporter on location is talking about the Yuletide season rush, a festive tidings and a worldwide celebration. Again, it gives you, like, a time of year, it gives you a season, it gives you, like, it's not as good. I mark a lot of these, like, I'm reading these in my head, in, like, I like this one most and I like this one least. And I think we started off real strong. The Lost Mage Princess is, like, it's so good. And, like, not good as in, like, it's not a gut punch to the face. It's not like, oh my god, I need to read more. I don't think any of my work really does that. I don't know how to do that. But I feel like City of Ruin is like, okay, I can see what's happening here and I want to know more, maybe. But who knows if that's actually good or not. Like I said, I've written many stories, I've written many first lines, I've reworked all of these first lines billions of times, and at a certain point you just have to give up and say, I think it's good enough. The next book is one of my... So the next 2 books are poetry books. One of them is Manic Pixie Fat Dream, and the other one is Life and Other Bullshit. Life and Other Bullshit is like a memoir. It is essentially a memoir from a 22-year-old told through poetry. And so the very first introduction to that story is the introduction. It is me saying, this is what I'm writing. This is what this book is. So it's probably my least favorite opening line, but it's also, like, I understand why I wrote it this way, you know. Life and Other Bullshit by Hero Song. Well, I guess I should start with who I am, seeing as this is the memories of me, myself, and I, unedited and in its entirety. This is my inner workings. Again, I don't know if that pushes people on to read more. It's not my favorite. The next book is Manic Pixie Fat Dream. And this one is way better, but it's also basically a poem. Well, no, it's the first line of a microfiction prose kind of thing. Manic Pixie Fat Dream by Hero Song. Sometimes I wish I was a bird, Wings that could take me anywhere from here. Wings that could lift me skywards. So that has been all of the books that I have currently published, and all of the first lines. Let's maybe go through and rate these. So Lost Mage Princess, I think, is a solid, like, 8 out of 10. I think it's a decent line. That's, it's very decent, and it's probably the best that I have, but it is nowhere near a 9 or a 10. Like, could be way better. I get that. Rite of the Mage Queen. So, if Lost Mage Princess is an 8 out of 10, Rite of the Mage Queen has gone down significantly because you have had to read the first book. And I still think that it's, like, a very solid, like, I still think that it's, like, maybe a 7.5 out of 10. It's just, like, slightly worse. Not worse. Maybe they're both 8s, actually. Poetry at the End. I mean, I'm gonna say personally that Poetry at the End is a 10 out of 10, and that's because it is poetry about my mom's passing away. So I don't think I can rate that any lower for my personal reasons. And maybe I'm just, like, saying that because it's so meaningful to me. And if I looked at it objectively, it'd be like, I don't know, maybe a 7 or 8 out of 10. I'm rating these very high, firstly, but, like, it will go down with these next ones that I don't like as much. Oak and Honey, for instance, 5 out of 10. It's not great, it's not bad, it is what it is. Cafe at the End of the Lane, I, again, think it's probably a 5. Scarlet's Wolf, I don't know, maybe a 3. I feel like that's maybe being generous. After Ava, how do I feel about After Ava? I think it's a 4? Maybe a 3. Yeah, it has, like, a contradiction in it, and it's not... I like the line, I looked over the city skyscraper, and then from there it goes downhill. So that those first, like, 5 words, those first 6 words are doing a lot of heavy lifting in this sentence, I think. Again, I'd rate it, like, yeah, I'm gonna say a 3. It's not great. Not my best work. Which maybe says something about having to rewrite it or whatever, but I'm not gonna do that again because I've already done it multiple times. City of Ruin. I feel like City of Ruin is better. It's, like, maybe a 6. It's slightly, it's, like, on the better side. It's a 6. It's solid. Life and Other Bullshit. I think I have to rate that a 2. Like, it's that for a reason, but it's not good. And maybe that's just me feeling like maybe you'll have different opinions about this. And Manic Pixie Fat Dream. As far as first lines go, I think that Manic Pixie Fat Dream is a solid 6. Solid 6. And now we are at the end of the video. And I have 2 more opening lines to share with you. So let's go with my first one, which is Into the Billing Wind by Hero the Bard on Wattpad. You can pick up this book for free on Wattpad. It is a short story. It's, like, all of 1 chapter long. And I love this book. I absolutely love this story. I have to stop calling it a book. It's on Wattpad. It is a Wattpad story. It's a short story. The first line is, "Don't go into the bone woods," the old woman would say as I crossed the bridge every day. Listen, that first line, it hits. It slaps. That's probably a 9 out of 10 for me. I like it, personally. And then the last one that I want to share with you is from Dear Dandy Heart, which will be releasing on August 6th. Shout out to me. It's going to be out there August 26th. Okay, so this first line. Oh, how do I feel about this? I think I love it. I'm going to be honest. I will say this quote that I'm about to share, though, is from something that, like, Dandy is a writer. He's a writer, a columnist. And so this is something that he specifically wrote. And like, that's such a weird thing to say, because my character is a writer, and I obviously wrote it for him because he's a character, but he wrote it. And I don't know how else to phrase that. So Dear Dandy Heart by Hira Doucette is, rumors have been spreading from a gentleman's club in St. Devonshire that a mysterious illness called viral bronchial decay, shorthand VBD, is being spread. I think it makes you ask a lot of fucking questions, and I think that is like, that's definitely a 9 out of 10 as well. I think it's a very good line. Ask me in a year how I feel about it, and I might have a different answer for you. But yeah, those have been all of my books and all of the first lines for them. If any of these piqued your interest, the description down below will have all of my books in the link tree, so feel free to pick those up. They are only on Kobo right now because I took them off of other websites, but you can pick them all up. And again, Dear Dandy Heart will be out on August 26th, 2025, and I can't wait to share that with all of you. Thank you all for joining me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!